Hello and welcome to episode 419 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, joined by the men you know and love, Evan Silva and Michael Leone. Evan, how's it going?
It's going all right. I've been a little bit under the weather today for reasons you guys probably know, especially you, Leone, for that shit show of a draft we did together last night.
As expected for Evan.
But we
frozen on screen.
We did this little series going through each position and strategies and sleepers and all that kind of stuff last year, and I think it went really well. And let's run it back.
Leone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On today's show, we're going to talk all things quarterback, what our strategy should be, who we're targeting, sleepers, busts, etc. By the way, if you do have a draft coming up, you're doing yourself a disservice, in my humble opinion. If you're not armed with our draft kit, we are tracking every bit of news, injuries, ADP changes, role changes, and making changes to our rankings so that you are ready to roll. Also, note this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have this ridiculous $2 million first, $1 million second place fantasy tournament running right now. If you're listening to this, the best way to put your knowledge to use that you've accumulated from the podcast is indeed to fire at some of these best balls. Promo code ETR when you sign up. They will match your first deposit up to $100. Promo code ETR at Underdog Fantasy. All right. By the way, we are going to talk about quarterbacks through the lens of home league setups. In other words, half PPR, you're playing with your boys. It's not best ball. It's not tight end premium. It's not big tournament style. It's a straightforward 12-team fantasy league, half PPR, the way God intended. And so as we start at the quarterback position here, I think in this format, Josh Allen is in a tier of his own, but to me, it's too early at the quarterback position because I've seen some round 3 Josh Allen. Even round 4, I think, is a pass for me on Josh Allen. I'll explain a little bit more why in a second, but I think it's a big distinction and important note here, Leone. How early in this kind of setup are you willing to take the top tier, which I think is clearly Josh Allen, but how early are you willing to take him?
Yeah, probably late 4. I think, he's 42nd right now in our PPR rankings, which might be a little bit high. And generally, though, the draft doesn't go exactly according to our ranks. So there would be other players ahead of him in early 4. 42 would be like mid 4. So I think late 4. He has such an elite ceiling floor combination. The pass rate over expectation for Buffalo is awesome. The efficiency of the offense is awesome. He has the rushing ability. He can do it all. He checks all the boxes. So I think he's the clear QB1, but in most drafts, there's probably someone who's going to pull the trigger a little bit too early.
Yeah, my take is that when Josh Allen goes around 3 or around 4, I can get Lamar Jackson 2 rounds later. I can get Kyler Murray in the 5th or 6th round. I can get Jalen Hurts in the 6th or 7th round. I can get Trey Lance in the 8th or 9th round. And so you get into these spots where, it just doesn't seem worth it to me on Josh Allen. Evan, how are you thinking about the quarterback position as a whole this year in your drafts?
Well, I wanted to make a specific point about drafting a quarterback early I was talking with Rich Rebar about this earlier today, that something that he's kind of noticed is that, I like to start. So it comes down to stacking, which is not necessarily as encouraged as much in home leagues. But I think some people are still open to doing that, especially if they use an early round pick at tight end, like Travis Kelce. Let's say he falls to, I don't know, the top of the 2nd round or very, very late in the 1st, and you pull the trigger, and then you feel compelled to draft Patrick Mahomes in a lot of instances, right? Or let's say Mark Andrews, and you may feel more compelled to draft Lamar Jackson. But as Rebar noted, then you end up expending 2 fairly early round picks on onesie positions, tight end and quarterback. So that can lead you to leaving a lot of value out there on the board. But I like Trevor Lawrence this year as a particularly late round pick. I just try to let the board come to me. And if a guy starts to fall past his ADP, that's when I think it's time to pull the trigger. Just let the quarterback aspect of your draft come to you.
Yeah, I would say that in the home league setup that we're talking about here, I don't stack at all. I don't go out of my way to stack. I do think that it's plus EV to do so if it falls to you, like Evan said, but there's no way I would feel compelled to take Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson ahead of ADP just because I did in this setup. That's way different than tournaments or best ball or anything like that, where it's so different. We're talking about home leagues here. I do not think stacking makes sense at all to reach for it. I do think, though, that when we're talking about quarterback from a macro perspective now, Leone, we've seen the separation. You can go back and listen to the podcast that we did with JJ for more on this, but the bottom line is that quarterbacks are separating more than they used to from the middle and back end. And also it's more predictable, these quarterbacks. So guys who are running and throwing at the rates that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Kyler, Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, we expect, all that stuff. It makes it so that mid-round quarterback now, I think, is right instead of late round quarterback, which I always used to do. So I think you agree here Leone, maybe give the brief synopsis of why mid-round quarterback is now our preferred method.
Yeah, 100%. And JJ, as you noted, touched on this in our 2 quarterback podcast that we did. But basically, if you look 3 to 7 years ago, like that time frame, the ADP correlated to year-end production at the quarterback position wasn't really high. In other words, we were bad at predicting who the top quarterbacks were going to be. The last 2 years, that's flipped. It's been really predictable. The guys that are going in the top 10 are generally top 10 quarterbacks by the end of the year. And that's happening for a couple of reasons. One, we're getting more dual threat quarterbacks, guys that can throw and run, which is important. So even guys like in the past, I use Tyrod Taylor as an example. He could run a little bit, and like that was great in a day and age. But now we got guys that can do both. You know, Josh Allen can do both. Kyler Murray can do both. So that's an important distinction. We also get these offenses that are high-powered offenses that aren't going to let their foot off the gas in terms of pass rate. Some of the highest pass rate over expectation teams in the league are the highest scoring teams in the league: the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buffalo Bills. So these quarterbacks are able to separate on volume and efficiency. Whereas, 5-8 years ago, maybe there was a season where Russ or Aaron Rodgers ran real hot on efficiency, but they were never chucking from a advantageous point all year long like these quarterbacks. So that's why it's more predictable. That's why these guys are separating in a different way. And if you look at it, let's say Mac Jones has a great year, right? No matter what Mac Jones does, he can't touch Jalen Hurts. He just can't. Like it's not possible. So I do think it's really important, as Adam said, to go mid-round quarterback. Make sure you get a top 10 guy. I don't even mind the pure pocket passers if it's a guy like Brady who's going to be in a high scoring offense with really high pass rate of expectation if he's going to fall a lot, but do prefer kind of that Lance, Hurts, Kyler, Lamar tier.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford last year threw 41 touchdown passes, tying his career high. He was still the number 10 quarterback in points per game last year. He was like a fringe quarterback one. Okay. I wanted to ask you guys about this, and you in particular, Leone, you're good at strategy. So there is a significant difference between a 10-person league and a 12-person league. And in the 10-person league, this is kind of my idea. And a lot of people still play in 10-person league. My personal take on the 10-person leagues is that like almost everybody's got an all-star team. So in that format, are you willing to be a little bit more aggressive drafting Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson because you have to build like a jumbo all-star team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. It's basically like everybody's skill players are amazing. So like get the edge at quarterback. I don't know that the flip side of that argument, I think would be we kind of got a clear top 10 and there's like 2 teams that are going to get caught in the cold in a 12 teamer. But if you're in a 10 teamer, you can afford to wait a little bit unless you're in a league where people are just quarterback hungry and they're taking 2. And then if someone takes a quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers type, who we don't have inside our top 10, you might really be able to get a lot of value and beat people being more robust at those skill players. Like you can survive injuries a little bit more if you pound the skill players. So I think I lean that way in a 10-team league, but I totally get what you're saying. And I'm not sure. It's definitely, there's merits to both sides of that.
Evan, anybody you're targeting, you find yourself targeting a lot in drafts? I mean, for me, like I said, it's Lamar, Kyler, Hurts, and Lance. I think I get some, when I miss on those guys, I get some Russ Wilson and some Dak Prescott type stuff. Is there anybody that you're specifically trying to get at the quarterback position?
The quarterback I've been ending up with the most this year, and I mean, I've mostly done FFPC drafts. I haven't actually done really any home leagues. So, I mean, you're asking a personal question, and so we have to give context here, right? But it's Patrick Mahomes, because this is the cheapest that he's been in years. And I still think he's going to have an absolute monster season. Their pass rate is going to be astronomical as always. And, I could get him in the 5th round this year. And that's not something that you've been able to do for several years. And I understand that losing Tyreek Hill hurts, but Patrick Mahomes is going to be a teammate elevator. And Andy Reid, I mean, they're going to have a prolific offense, period. The really 2-round discount on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I've got a ton of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And we've talked plenty about how the Chiefs stuff is all underpriced relative to, I think, what we all expect. I like Juju. I like Sky Moore. I think MVS and Mecole are okay. Travis Kelce is obviously priced, I think, appropriately. Guys I'm not taking, Leone, I don't want it to get where I'm forced into something like Stafford or Aaron Rodgers or Burrow, guys who I think could not be very in pass heavy schemes. They could run the ball a reasonable amount, a decent amount, or even a lot. And also they don't run at all themselves. And so the guys I'm avoiding are Burrow, Stafford, and Rodgers. Anybody that you're going out of your way not to take this year, Leone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Burrow, Rodgers, Stafford, Derek Carr, those types, I think could sneak into people's builds in home leagues who I think they're going to be fairly replaceable and they're not going to be able to match the upside of the high end guys. For me, the cutoff's kind of like Russell Wilson. I'm a little bit lukewarm on Russ. I think he's going to elevate the wide receivers and they're going to have really good years. I don't know how much that's going to translate to if Russ can crack like the top 6 or not. So I've been I think in home leagues, guys like Jalen Hurts and Trey Lance are the two that I look at that could fall more relative to sharper leagues. I think Hurts could have an absolutely absurd fantasy season. I really like him a lot. If I was doing kind of like a shoot from the hip take, it would be Jalen Hurts' upside. I definitely prefer him to Trey Lance, but there's a chance you could get, Trey Lance like a round or two later, just because people aren't as familiar with him. And, we always want to take advantage of the uncertainty that other drafters are scared of.
Russ just hasn't been running in recent years. I mean, he's starting to get old. He's 33. He's still an excellent deep ball passer. Cortland Sutton's going to ball out. I think Judy could have a really nice year too. Alberto in the red zone. But I mean, he's not the runner that he used to be.
Yeah. Sleepers. So I would not, this is more for 2 quarterback leagues, and you can listen to that with JJ. I think in 1 quarterback leagues though, Leone, I'm rarely taking a second quarterback, right? Like if I get one of these top 8 or 9 guys, even if the bench is deep, I feel like it's pretty replaceable. I don't feel the need to have multiple quarterbacks on my team. You agree with that, Leone?
100%. Much rather have an RB lottery ticket. If your quarterback goes down to injury or you need to fill in the bye week, do it when that occurs, but don't waste a roster spot all year long.
Right. So the guys that are sleepers to me would not even be playable or rosterable in 1 quarterback leagues, but Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones are my 2 favorites of guys that are go late. Evan, I know you already mentioned Trevor Lawrence. Any other quarterback sleepers you want to mention?
We've had some interesting discussions about Mariota in the Slack. And I mean, this is super, super deep, right? I mean, this has to be 2 quarterback league.
Yep.
But I think he's an excellent 2 quarterback league pick. I mean, Desmond Ridder doesn't sound close at all. And Marcus Mariota knows the offense from his time in Tennessee with Arthur Smith. And they've got 2 pretty intriguing weapons. I mean, Kyle Pitts had the upside, case on Kyle Pitts is astronomical. And Drake London, I think, has been looking pretty good before he got hurt in that preseason opener.
Leone, any sleepers you want to mention?
Yeah, the one thing I'd note, while I wouldn't draft a second quarterback, I'm okay adding a second quarterback if they're having like a season like Justin Herbert when he came in his rookie year and it looks like he could break out in a big way. And we do kind of want to stockpile talent. So if guys that are young with some mobility and have skill players around them, I'm talking like Tua, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, like that group of guys in particular, if the offenses show good signs in terms of play calling and they show, they flash a little early, those are guys that might be quick to add.
All right. We said all on quarterback. To sum up, we want to get one of our top 10 quarterbacks. We don't want to let it to get past that. Mid-round, not early round, not late round, mid-round quarterback is our preferred method this year. And do yourself a favor, do not draft a backup in a 1 quarterback league. Use those spots as lottery tickets at running back, maybe an injury will hit, or wide receiver, someone that you're excited about, want to see if they have a real role or not. We'll be back next episode to talk running back. For Leone, for Evan, for producer Luke, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.